Hello, welcome to the Subspace Developer Sync. Today we're going to be giving updates on the project highlights. We'll be giving some announcements, and we have a couple of other agenda items, kind of cross-team uh, communication. So I'm actually coming today from not far from the Hacker House, as I'm on a quasi-vacation, but you may hear more background noise than normal. I apologize, as there are several little kids nearby. All right, so to start, a couple of announcements. First, the product and product engineering teams are going to be meeting in Bogota in 2 weeks. Very excited about that. Have not met anybody from the product team, so after spending a couple weeks in Dubai, it's going to be great to get to spend some time with the product team as well. The goal of that offsite is going to be to get together to start working kind of on the next focus for our product team. So it'll be great to have sync time doing that. I think we learned at the Dubai offsite, it was quite effective having everybody together. Things moved much faster. So additionally, it's been a little while since we launched Gemini 3D. Anybody who's been kind of paying attention may have uh, been able to see that we've made a lot of progress since that launch. A lot of it is breaking progress. So we do have an initial full implementation of Dilithium, the new consensus, but that does break the network. So we haven't been able to update Gemini 3D with that. So along those lines, we are doing some internal testing currently. Once that's been done, hopefully in the next week or so, we'll be ready to launch the next iteration of Gemini 3E, which should then be a precursor potentially for an incentivized testnet coming up soon. So it's all the announcements I have. Let's talk about some project highlights. So Ved, would you mind giving kind of some highlights or an update on what we accomplished at the Dubai offsite?
Yeah. Hey everyone. Yeah, so we met a few weeks back in Dubai. That was a 2 weeks protocol engineering offsite. Uh, some amazing things came out of it. We have a roadmap right now. We have a timeline for that roadmap, and the main output of it is a bunch of technical specifications that came for different versions of our protocol. We are still working on that, but it should be finalized pretty soon as well. Um, yeah, that's mostly what I have so far. But
Cool. It was a great time. I think we were like super productive, had a good time hanging out with everybody, living in a hacker house together. Uh, I think a lot was accomplished. So we do have, as Ved said, kind of a much more detailed roadmap and uh, path forward. A lot of simplifications to the protocol were made. So I think um, the path is much clearer and very attainable. So I'm excited about that. So on the product side, really across the organization, there's been a focus on AI, but especially on the product side. So Serge, you've been making a lot of progress in this space. Would you mind kind of giving an update on that and kind of how you're
Yeah,
seeing that
sure.
direction?
Yeah, let me share my screen. Uh, yeah, so some progress was on the wrap arranger that I already showed you before. So I added the most important feature is a dark theme. And also I added the functionalities to chat with files, like we had same buttons as before, copy, download, but now you can basically prompt your model of choice, GPT 3.5 or GPT-4, about these files. I'm not going to paste my API key right now, but you can go ahead and check it. Apart from Rep Arranger, I was playing a little bit with vector databases. So I wanted to implement a semantic search for Subspace documents, and so far I managed to make it work with Pinecone. Um, the problem with Pinecone is everything is hosted on their cloud. It's not open source. You cannot run it in a Docker container. So I'm trying to work to integrate Chroma and what's the pronunciation? Face, this Facebook thing. It's still work in progress, but let me show you how it works with Pinecone. So we can ask. So before I actually show you the query, here is Subspace documents as markdown files here, and I already created an index, and then we can query like how can I contribute to Subspace community, and it will give you the answer. We can try something else like tell me all the possible ways how to run Subspace node, and yeah, it tells you that there is CLI. It doesn't mention Docker. So sometimes answers results are not great because it uses GPT 3.5 Turbo, which is kind of not as smart as GPT-4, but cheaper. So I'm using it for development. If we ask more times, probably it will give better answers. But yeah, you get the idea. What else? I also built this tool, GitHub contribution tracker, because I don't like manually submitting these bi-weekly updates. So what this script does, basically we fetch, let me show you the actual page here. So we have a Notion page. We have a table with these people as product engineers and their GitHub handles. So this application will fetch all the GitHub activity within Subspace organization for a given time period and create these updates. So this part is generated by a language model. Again, I'm using GPT 3.5 Turbo. So not always these summaries are great. But yeah, this is like text summary, text highlight of contributions, and I added emojis, so it's kind of less formal. And we do it for every repository for each product engineer. Yeah, these are all my updates on AI, playing with AI. Yeah.
Very cool. Yes, Shamil.
I have a question for Serge. You mentioned that you were able to do that task for using Pinecone. Could you highlight some issues with Chroma, for example?
So with Chroma, I couldn't simply build a Docker image on my machine. I don't know, probably they have some issues with M1 processor. Yeah.
So it's not the issue with algorithms.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Shamil, have you played with Chroma at all?
Yes, I just read some manual and tried
Okay.
just run it locally.
Any-
It bought me with just the simplest setup, I think. And as Serge said, that Pinecone has cloud setup, so Chroma seems easier.
Were you able to get Chroma working?
With my two examples, it was very easy to do that.
I had a hard time with setup as well, so I don't probably maybe different than the M1 issue, but I maybe will talk to you later, Shamil, to see. I mean, it was really simple to get the Docker container up and running, but I wasn't able to successfully query it all. So
No, I used in-memory setup. I'm not sure that was very helpful for you.
Okay, cool. Along the AI front, I guess we've started our Hugging Face relationship. So we're part of their expert advice program. That we've had our kickoff call and our kind of first weekly call went great. One of the things, Serge, that we discussed was on question and answer of like querying of documents and such, a way of searching that's a little different. You should look into called HIDE. I forget what hypothetical document embeddings, I think is what it stands for. But it was really interesting in a different approach to setting up the query of the documents, where you first create hypothetical answers to your query. So, if I'm looking how to set up a node, I ask, how do you set up a node without it using the docs? And then it'll give a bunch of answers. And then those answers are actually closer probably to what you're looking for in the document. So you can get more success from that, because if you're just saying, like, how do you set up a node? That one's maybe not the best example, because there probably is somewhere in there that says how to set up a node. But often you can imagine querying something where the question isn't actually like reflected exactly in the document, but hypothetical answers might give you a closer relevance score. So there's a paper on it. If you look up HYDE, you should be able to find it, or I'll post it in the AI channel. So we will be getting the recording of that. I'll post that as well for everybody from the last call. And this week we're going to be doing a workshop on semantic search. So that should be interesting. We'll also be posting the recording of that. So, all right. We did have a couple of team agenda items. First, there's some problem, Serge, I think it was you, with having a hard time with the EVM RPC. I saw there was some conversation. Have we worked through that with Mohammed?
Yeah, I think Mohammed can elaborate more. I just wanted to put it on the agenda.
Mohammed, were you able to make any progress on that, or did I see there's an upstream issue?
Okay,
Yeah,
I can. Yep.
basically the RPC, the domain starts running, but there's some issues with it, and then it crashes. Reported it to Lou, and he said it's an upstream issue, so he posted the issue on the GitHub for that. We've kept the logs just in case we need to, they need to do any research on it and ascertain what the problem is. But until then, fix it upstream, then yeah, then we can test it out and run it and see if we can get it going again.
Luchang, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I can just elaborate a little bit on this issue. It's the substrate is trying to revert the same finalized block, which makes no sense. So I think it's probably on the substrate. So I just posted the issue, and we'll see, what is their response for that.
All right, cool. Nazar, you had a question around code owner.
Yeah. If someone didn't know, in GitHub, there is a feature where you can create a code owner's file in the root of the repository, and you can specify a path on every line and nicknames of people who are responsible for owning that part of the code base. We have that file in the monorepo because we have a lot of code in there, and not everyone is kind of responsible for everything. However, that information is outdated. It is significantly outdated, and I think I thought I would just like raise this question. Maybe everyone go look into that file, and if you see that you are maintaining something that is not there, or you are assigned for something that you are not maintaining anymore, let's cooperate somehow and make that file more up to date. Because I see some people were shifting things they're working on. For instance, Ivan is assigned to some things on the farmer side, but he's no longer working on that actively and things like that. So I want to just resurface this and make sure we have this file more up to date. What it does essentially is every time someone creates a pull request that modifies some files, those people who are owners will be assigned to that to review automatically, which basically saves time and ensures that they will always be tagged on corresponding changes for review.
Cool. Nazar, would you prefer people maybe create a pull request to update that, or have a discussion in engineering channel to and then go over and do it all in one pull request?
I think we will have to do a lot of modifications, and if we do that as pull request, there will be a lot of merge conflicts. So maybe we can just copy what we have here into Notion somewhere, and let everyone asynchronously update that over time, and then we can take a snapshot and put it back into the repository. That will be more efficient.
Can you lead the charge on that? Copy that, create a Notion doc,
Sure.
and then post in engineering for everybody to go and update.
Yeah, and note that the assignments, they override the higher level assignments. So please add me and Jeremiah towards the end of every line. But otherwise, like if you just want to be up to date about something, feel free to assign yourself as well.
All right. Well, that was everything from the agenda. Does anybody else have anything to add? All right. Well, I will go ahead and stop the recording. We'll see everybody. We won't see everybody in 2 weeks. Much of the team will be gone in 2 weeks, but we will still be having the dev sync, just X many of the product team. So.